All right, assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to Islam Podcast, week number 3. I'm your host, Arif Khan. Today we're gathered here with Mr. Zaid Maju, assalamu alaikum,
Walaikum salam. Assalamu everyone.
and Mr. Ahmad,
Salam guys, how's it going?
assalamu alaikum. Good. So, good to see you guys again. Let's see who we have in chat. We'll give time to start up. We got Umer B.
I don't know if
It's Omer.
I don't know if it's Baksh or Baksh or I'm still waiting to find out.
Bakshi. It's Bakshi. Habibi. Salam, boys. Welcome, salam. What is he saying? We got Rexdale royalty here. Where?
Top.
Here.
You got to scroll up.
Oh, yeah.
He's the first
And
one.
we also have Omar Sawi here. Sorry, Omar.
Assalamu
You
boys.
fell
Assalamu alaikum.
below
Sorry.
the.
So,
Having some technical difficulties today.
All good. Baksh, correct yourself. Rexdale royalty. Yes, sir. We out here like always. That's my goalie. All right, Umer B, the original. Cool. All right, so week 3. We're talking about week 3, but we're sorry. This is week 3 that's coming up, but we are going to be talking about things that happened in week 2. I think we got a slide, but I think we're changing up the format here a little bit, right?
Yeah, we're experimenting a little bit with the podcast, and we want to maybe have more topical discussions versus just
Sure.
kind of going through recaps and previews for the upcoming week. And I mean, we may touch on those as we do that, but we'll give this a shot. So share your feedback, let us know what you think, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. So as you can see on the poster, we have I am okay and a bunch of other stuff. So we'll talk about those one at a time. So let's get started with I guess the first one, which is what I am okay. All right,
Maju,
who wants to
why don't you
take
lead
this?
us
What are we
off?
talking about here?
so
We got to give Zaid credit here though for coming up with the these little captions. Usually it's one of us, but I'm super excited to have Maju on board.
Well,
Yeah,
thank
sure.
you, Omar. I have to give it up to our insider who actually came up with some of these topics of discussion. I just played around with that, right? So starting off with I'm okay. I just played upon Rida, right? We got Imtiaz Manjra. Abdul Manjra. We got Yusuf Ingar. So Yusuf Ingar, Manjra, and Mohammed Qazi. So we got the I am okay line. The GMs of that group, and they are really chugging along, right? They have a lot of chemistry within their team. And last week they had a little bit of a tight game. I think Iman was giving them a bit more of a run than they're used to. But the GMs are the ones who came out firing. Ingar with this beautiful snipe top corner. And Kazi also had 2 goals for himself. So Kazi, I can't hate on you anymore. I can't call you out. You are stepping up to the plate and hitting it out of the park, man. You're doing great. So, what have you seen about this team? Is it inspiring you guys, or just could they be better, or could they, or you maybe going to take a dive the other way?
They're inspiring me. As someone who has the distinct pleasure, if you will, of watching these guys play on a weekly basis, I can tell you that they just seem in sync, right? And find maybe you transplanted Yusuf into Huzaifa's spot, but they haven't really lost a beat. Like you can tell these guys have been playing with each other for a big chunk of their life, and and they just know where to be, and I guess that's just a credit to their smart hockey ability, but also their familiarity. So what's interesting, and I mentioned this to Kazi after the game, is he is, William Nylander, they criticize him for looking like he's uninterested in the game when he's playing, and then he just goes and he scores. And so there'd be times I'm looking at like Kazi and he's just like, sort of staring off or whatever it is. And then 2 seconds later, he scores a goal. And I'm like, man, you look uninterested sometimes, but he just knows where to be, right? And maybe it's just a credit to him. Like he's just so good at hockey that he makes it look like it's uninteresting.
I'm telling you, that's my dude, the underrated superstar, as I've given him the moniker. It's well deserved. I'm telling you.
And it's a nice continuation from last season where they won the championship, and it looks like they haven't skipped a beat, although there've been a lot of changes on their teams, but the core
Yeah.
is really still there. They picked a lot of guys who they know, and they just keep rolling along, right?
Yeah.
It was a 4-0 win in the first week, and then a little closer game this week, but they still came out with a win, and they looked like they were on top of the other teams in both games. So it'll be interesting to see if they can continue carrying that on as the season goes along, or
Mhm.
if maybe teams kind of figure out a way to control them. And really, what is the way to control these guys? They just play so well together. As always said, they're in sync, and I know he just
Yeah.
kind of dropped out for a second, but what do you guys think is the best way to control these guys?
Well, I think it's hard to control them, right? If you look at last year, right? Everybody kind of knew that they do a lot of switches. They're always moving, which is what they should be doing. And even though you knew what they were doing, it was hard to counter that. It's hard to counter a team that already has inbuilt chemistry with a bunch of guys who are still developing chemistry. So I think this year is no different. Their core is the same. They lost Huzi, but they got Yusuf Ingar, right? Yusi is just as good, right? So it's like they take one piece out, they put another one. And the other factor, I think, is Kazi and Abu. They always do a great job on getting a lot of good secondary players into the mix, who aren't there just for the ride. They actually contribute.
And now that Asawi's not here, I can say that Asawi was a
He
good
is
pick.
here.
Oh shoot, he just popped back on. But no, but
It's
Asawi,
another slow start, guys. It's another slow start for myself. I don't know what's going on. I don't. You know what? I'm getting the touches. I'm just not getting it to go. And it's interesting, especially, and then I guess for the quote unquote higher round picks, right? Especially when you come into a GM trio, you almost have to adjust your own style every single time you're drafted, right? So, last season, it was more like let's put it onto the net and see what happens, right? Whereas in this sort of dynamic that I'm in right now with this team, they don't. It's not like a crash the net kind of team, right? It's really I'm going to shoot deliberately to score kind of team, and so where my role, if I want to be involved in the offense, it really has to be to make a good crisp first pass or a good outlet out of the
Mhm.
zone.
Yeah.
And so we'll see how it goes. I mean, but
Well, you
smart
are
players adjust.
you are the defending assist leader from last year, so do that. Just assist more than shoot.
Well, and that's what I mean, right? So like previously, most of my assists would have come last year from, me finding a way to put onto net. Last year, I felt like I was really good at drawing two people to me, and then leaving somebody kind of open closer to the net. Whereas this time, I think there's so much firepower on our first line, especially that maybe that's not happening. But so we'll adjust. Don't worry. You'll see
Yeah.
some assists there soon.
The
know what?
interesting
Hi,
thing
boys.
too is that Mohsen Makroa hasn't played yet. He's missed. He's their
Mhm.
second round pick. He
Yeah.
hasn't played either the first two games. He's expected to be another high octane guy who can put the ball in the net. So, how does that equate to it? Do Kazi and Abu Mandra and Inger know him? I don't know the answer to that. I believe they don't. He's from the East End, right?
They don't know him, but love him. And
he's Gujarati, so they know him. So that's not going to be the issue. But I think Asawi, just like again, kind of going back on the way you're adapting. I think you're adapting well, right? You're playing a defense's first responsibility is taking care of the back end. You're doing that, and adjusting to the forward is going to be one of those things to figure out. But you're taking care of business where it needs to be. And
just ask Hood Khan.
And Buck's talking about you hitting the net. You got a nice slapper off last week. I saw that. So
sorry guys, I gotta cut you guys off. There's a lot of other topics. We do have to move on. So the next one is can a class be butter, or can a class be better? I guess that's the play that we're going for here.
So they had.
Ahead,
sorry, go. They haven't had the start that many had anticipated. Coming out of the draft, you think about, oh my God, this team is probably one of the deepest teams that was drafted. They have Munawar Hamdani, who is an elite ball hockey player, and that they would just steamroll over guys. But their first game, they had I believe it was a 4-3 win, and then last week they lost the game in the last minute, I believe. And it's like, okay, well, why are these games so close, and why are these top guys not having the impact they want or that we all expected? So I don't know what's going on and what they adjust, but that's something that I think we need to keep an eye on.
I think one
Sorry,
reason.
go ahead.
Go ahead, Omar.
I was going to tell you. I was going to say, this is a very top line heavy team. Okay, like their first line is very, very, very good. Arguably the best in the league. Okay, and there just seems to be a bit of I'd say too much of a drop off in results, not in potential when it comes to their second line. So you have someone like Abdullah Patel, who plays on the second line, who should be producing more than he's producing. Okay. You have someone like Sakib Kokar, who plays on the second line, who should be producing more than he's producing. Right. So you have these guys who are capable and able, but it's just not happening right now. So if it continues in this way and it's not happening for that team, it's going to be problematic because, Manohar Hamdani could probably score all your goals if you want, but if you're going to concede goals when you're on, it's going to basically erase everything that he's doing.
And that's what it comes down to. Like in Iceland, we've seen this time and time and time again, is that at the end of the day, it's a team sport, right? As much as you have some fantastic players, it's a team sport. Everyone has to be able to contribute. Like you said, just because you score and then the other lines get scored upon, at the end of the day, you lost the game.
I do want to give a shout out to Farouk, though. Farouk Khan, he's been playing great on that team.
Amazing.
And,
Amazing,
very, very much like a first pairing defenseman. So, he's always been good, but I find that, Farouk Khan in particular, when he's playing with, higher level talent, he also elevates his game, and which is what we're seeing this season. So, big shout out there, man.
And I was going to say that actually going back to the fall 2020 season, since then, he's had a stretch of quite a few very strong seasons, and he just stands out in general, regardless of whichever teams he's on.
Now,
and he has some serious compete level too. Sorry, go ahead, Mitchell.
No, that's okay. I want to throw a different kind of little view on this, right? Are they relying too much on Hamdani? Right, we saw this the first game that they kept passing the ball back to him, and Hamdani would keep passing it back. Like, does Hamdani not want it as much? Maybe he's being a little bit humble. And I agree with you, Asawi, that the second line needs to step up. They do need to perform. Again, long season, right? But is the rest of the team just saying, "Oh yeah, Butter, Wadi, Hamdani, they got this. I can kind of chill. I can relax a little bit." So is that where the drop off?
Let me throw something at you on that line, right? Is Hamdani even playing at his full capacity? I think, he doesn't need to, right?
Yeah,
he's taking it easy with us scrubs, right? So at one point, will he be like, you know what, screw it, we need a win. I'm going, Super Saiyan right now. And when he does that, absolutely. He scores like end to end.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Is he taking it easy, or is it the team that's just also thinking about? So there's a lot of little nuances that need to be accounted for. And again, like everyone keeps saying, it's a long season. We got to think about it, see what's happening. But I think there's a lot of these little mind factors that are in play, and we just don't know what's happening with the mindset.
One thing I will say, guys, is that it is a different sort of experience when you play with people that are not of your caliber, right? Yeah. So, individuals like someone of lower caliber like myself, I'm going to do something on defense that you might not expect me to do because I don't know how to do anything better. And that kind of messes guys up a little bit.
You're going to ruin someone's flow.
You ruin someone's flow, right? But like even if you remember when we had, that brother, he was a elite goalie and he didn't have a good season with us. And it was just because he's like, the shots are just not coming the way that you expect them to come because they're not hard, or they're like knuckleballs and they're just going in, right? So I think in our conversation with Chauhan, he says the same thing, right? Just kind of like you expect the guy to move this way, but he doesn't know to move this way, and he just stands still, and then it messes up the move that you were trying to do, right? So
and to Adil Chauhan's credit, he's adjusted his game after a few seasons. Right? I don't know if you've noticed, the last time he played, he was much more chill about things. Normally would get an earful, but he's adapted, and I think that's made him a better team player for Iceland.
Definitely a top level skill, and he again, like I think you're right. He has adapted. He's tried to figure out different ways to involve himself, but also get out of other people's way. So he
Yeah.
he opens up that floor for himself and for other teammates. So yeah, he's definitely had to change his game.
Yeah.
So
Before we go
what
to the
is-
next, before we go to the next topic, just a shout out to Esawi on the amazing work on the jerseys. This jersey you see of Butter here, right, Rida, and this is the current one. I mean, the Maple Leaf things, whatever, but it's still, mashallah, a beautiful jersey.
Alhamdulillah, man.
So
Anything
yeah,
to
sorry,
bring our
Emma,
community
didn't mean
forward.
to cut you off. Go ahead.
Yeah, I guess the question is now is what do they need to do to turn things around and really be that dominant team that they are supposed to be? Is it that they maybe spread around sprinkle themselves throughout the lineup, that top end talent, and kind of pair up throughout different lines, and get those other guys some of those other opportunities that they're more used to? Like you're talking about the Sakib Kokers or Saleh is playing a fair bit, but just getting some more guys more time with some of those higher caliber guys, just so that they can play off of their experience and their skills.
True. All right, the next topic we had is to the top with Yakin. Yakin, for I guess many of us who know them better as I guess T Park, but it's not completely fair statement. But yeah, what's going on? I mean, that team is doing exactly what we expected them to do.
Well, Yakin also meaning certainty, right? So to the top with certainty. They're not even just.
Yeah.
They are, I am a little bit biased when I say this because again, being from T Park, being on the team, right? But they do have a very dominant style of play, and I said it in the team in our team, in our DR, but I'll say it again: is the off the ball movement. So it's not even just passing it and then waiting for it to come back. It's passing it, and when we'll see this clip if you can get it queued up, it's once they pass it, they're bolting. And that's where a lot of teams are having trouble sticking with them. And I think that's, again, going back to Rida, is that off the ball movement is making it tough for other teams to compete, where here you see one pass, another pass back. And people are having a tough time just figuring out who to cover, when to cover, and are you still covering them into the zone? So
yeah,
they're really putting go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Look at this goal here, right? Like they turn it over, they get it, and look, just one after another. And as soon as he passes, look, Hamza gets it, passes it, and then he's back into the open slot. Everyone else is on the floor. They're walking around. What's that?
That's 4 passes in the span of like 4 seconds.
Yeah,
which is what hockey is supposed to be.
Like it's just
totally.
It's amazing. Yeah,
right. Like you can't just pass it and then watch the guy. It's like, okay, well, I gave it to you. Now you go. It's not football. So
and that's where the certainty is. That's where the certainty is coming from. Is they're really putting the league on notice. Is hey, you got to keep up with me, right? And I think that's why today's this weekend is going to be Yakin's one of their bigger tests as well. Yes, they played Taqwa, but they're also playing Rida now. Rida is undefeated. Yakin's undefeated. So that's going to be a true test where both teams have played with their friends for a while, and both teams have that extra movement, extra passing.
I mean, and this brother right here, he's doing amazing as part of the team. The team's offensive first year with Islam, and already he's showing why he was picked as a GM.
Yeah, Razasai, like you see him on the floor, and he's just like all over the place. And I mean, he fits in right there, right, with the other guys, whether it's Yusuf or it's Shahid. They're all, or Hamza.
Shahid's not playing this year, but
Hamza. Sorry, they know each other so well, and they're all at the same skill level. It's just unbelievable watching them play.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to the next one, which is. What abs success? Oh, I like the title, but
hold on. Well, we got to take a step back. I think you've jumped one. The one.
What is it?
The One Direction, and we're not talking about the band.
Okay, all right, sure. Here we go.
So just with One Direction, I think we've said this a few times. And sorry, boys, we're talking about you, Taqwa. We're coming back to the age-old thing that I've kept saying too, is they have the one man on defense. Omar Dean is their actual labeled D-man that they drafted, right? They were missing MYC last week, but they did have, I believe one of their GMs who was playing on the back. I think it was Omar Chaudhry.
Yeah.
Omar Hussein. Omar
sorry,
Hussein was
Omar
playing.
Hussein.
Omar Hussein was playing defense, but Hamza also played the first half on D as well.
Thank you. And is that what is really limiting them? I said it, and I sorry, you guys kind of got a little bit upset at me at that time too, where I thought they might struggle, that they might be able to score 5-6 goals, but the lack of defense, is that going to be their downfall? And Riaz played an amazing game last week. He was going side to side, shutting down a Broad Desai on a one-timer, or on the other side, he was keeping up, and he's living up to his billing of being a goalie, right? But that lack of the defense, is that going to hound them for the rest of the season, or are they going to try to find a way to plug some people in there and really get that defensive mindset?
Yeah,
they need a defenseman, at least one. There's no question about it, guys. Like this is not even up for negotiation. I'm not saying this because I am a defenseman, but I'm just like, if your best players are playing out of position, okay, especially in a talent pool where, look, last season Omar Hussein played defense, and he was able to do that because he wasn't playing against competition like he's playing now. When they played Ikhlas though, Omar Hussein shut them down. Like he's great at defense, but he's even better as a forward. And when he can't play forward because they have nobody else to play defense, that's a problem. And until they solve this problem, I don't know how successful they're going to be, because outside of their top five, and you got also, and I personally believe, even though everybody understands the rationale behind the trade that they made, it did burn them a little bit, because they had to give up, some pieces that could have played defense, to make that move. So
yeah,
I do think a defenseman needs to be on Taqwa's shopping list. I'm not sure what they're willing to part with, but it doesn't have to be like a first or second round draft defenseman, but steady, stay at home type of guy, so that they can go up and they can cycle, and they don't have to really worry about what's going to happen if they turn the ball over, so on and so forth. So RC,
look at the
mastermind when it comes to player movement, and I really do think that he needs to get in there and figure out what's available to him.
Like, look at this clip here, right? Of Yakin's ball movement, and it's hard for Taqwa to really at least for this clip, it was hard for them to keep up. Look, they get the ball, just give it to the point, and it gets out of the way, and there are three of them are just watching, right? And I don't mean to pick on one play. I mean, if we analyze any game, there's always going to be people out of position. But that's a great example of exactly what you're saying.
They're to Savi's point, they're gonna have to make a trade for a defenseman, because it's just not working. You can't have your top players playing out of position. But I think other teams are gonna hold them hostage about this, and they know that they need defense, and they're gonna have to pay a premium for it, regardless of whether they're looking for a steady guy to play on the second pairing or what have you. But it's not going to be easy getting that defenseman. There's also a little bit of a dearth of defensemen this season, right? They're not a ton out there, and if a team's going to give something up, they're going to want something back in return, and you're going to have to pay for it.
I mean, we did talk about that. Thank you.
Maruf plays defense. I'm just not sure why they haven't explored that yet. If I'm not sure, at least from any games that I've seen, it doesn't appear that they have explored it. But I mean, again, Tahir Maruf is a better forward than he is a defenseman. But I think that it's something that probably needs to be explored. Look, these guys Omar Hussein needs to be freed from the back end, right? He needs to be playing forward, like a top line of and we had talked about this, right? You have Omar Hussein, you have RC, and you have Hamza Chaudhry as a top three, right? That is, as good a top three as I think you can get right now in this season. And then you follow that with Mohamed Yusuf Chaudhry and Zaid Khaler, and someone else. Previously it was Tahir. That's a great second line too. So right now the problem is defense. So I mean, they're gonna have to make some phone calls and see who's available and for what price.
Yep. All right, let's move on to the next one. Are we now ready for this one, Maju?
Yep. Yeah, let's do it.
Habs equals success. And I'm not talking about the 24 Stanley Cups. I think you're talking about something else.
Well, again, another play on words, but we got H.A. Hamoudi, B for Bika, and S for Sufyan Sheikh. That line, just that line alone is their powerhouse, is Haya's bread and butter. Last week, they were letting, just as a team, they were letting Suber just walk right in, and heck, our moderator here had a beautiful, just I think almost a breakaway or half a breakaway. I can't really recall, but you were able to walk through the team in the first few minutes and get a great chance out of it. So as much as Hamoudi, that whole line in the first game had 4 points across the board, that was their success. But is that the only success that Haya is having, right? Unfortunately, they did leave Khalid Mufti open and out to dry. If I can give my goalie perspective, he was abandoned for a part of that first game. Or sorry, that second game, the first period. So we know the Habs line is successful. But what does Haya need to do to actually turn that into like routine and overall success?
Yeah, I mean, Emad and I played in that game, so from our perspective, to be very honest, we knew obviously their top line was deadly, but Emad, I don't think we focused in on shutting anyone down. I think we were more focused on our own game. But we had to be cognizant of the big shot from Bika, for example.
Yeah, I think we were more concerned about the guys we were missing on our team and how we wanted to fill the gap. So that was the priority, and to see how the game played out. But to Maj's point, is the key to beating Haya is shutting down that first line. And I know that's kind of it makes sense with a lot of teams is to shut down the first line and you have a good chance of winning. But they really didn't really get all that many looks up from in close, right? And that's kind of where they're usually successful. Bika got a few shots off. I took one off the shin, and I was wearing pads, and it still hurts me. So and he took a shot off, and he off the post, and it split in half. The ball split in half. Yeah, so that was crazy. So everyone's gonna think twice about blocking a shot from him. But yeah, those guys, who else on that team can really pick up the slack and provide some secondary offense when the top line is being shut down?
Seems like it's the theme of this year, right? Is that lack of top defensemen and lack of secondary scoring. We didn't quite think that this was going to be the case. The defensemen, yes, but secondary scoring, I don't think we expected that.
But it shouldn't be happening. That's the thing, right? Because the guys who are not scoring are guys that know how to score or have proven that they can score, right? So it's not like, we have random guys in the league and then all of a sudden, oh my God, they were drafted for the second line and they're not scoring. We have guys that have scored multiple goals in a game, or they've been sort of in the middle of the pack really when it comes to scoring in the entire season. So it's an anomaly right now that they're not scoring, and it could just be maybe guys ate too much in the winter break and they're finding their legs. Like, I know for me, that first game I was gassed because I was eliminated from the playoffs very early. I didn't play since then, let alone run. And so that first game I was not ready. So the second game I was much better. So that might be it. Maybe guys just need to find their timing, their legs, and hopefully by game 3-4, we'll see some of the secondary scoring come back.
Well, they have Hussein Malik, they have Ismail Malik. These guys, like you said, they know how to score. They know how to be in the right place at the right time. So, Riz Malik along with them, and they got to score. They really got to score.
Now, Haya's problem has never been defense, right? They have Luke on their first defensive pairing, and they have Sadat and Dawood on their second defensive pairing. So they have one of the better stable D-cores. They have proven D-men. Now, yet they still weren't able to piece it together and not be completely spread out by you guys last week, given that Emad was playing D for your team, and they also had a forward who was also playing D, and I just don't have a note of it. But again, both teams were kind of just plugging players in to fill the need. But it's going to be interesting just to see if that Haya hustle can kind of get back together, find their rhythm again, and play that collapsing D first game, and then start breaking it out. Yeah. But overall, it was a very close game.
It's hard with the kids, kids by the younger players in the league, right? Because we kind of understand positioning and the importance of defense, but a lot of times when kids are playing, that's not really a part of the game that's reinforced, right? Is they're able to run unlimited, so they're more focused on the offense and not so much on the defense. But then when they play with I'm going to call us veterans, who can't keep up with them, we focus on being in position. And so when you're fast and you're really focused on offense, you end up going maybe too far, and then you lose the ball
Yeah.
and you're out of position at that point, right? And I don't know if that's what happened this game, but I think that some of the younger guys, in order to refine your game, you're gonna have to learn how to be in better position, um, and sort of maybe not take, maybe pick and choose the risks that you take as opposed to taking a risk on every play.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to touch upon veteran success in a couple of slides from now, but it's point well taken. And Manju, I think we talked about this in the draft, which is speed kills, but again, if you don't have proper direction, then you just end up going in the wrong place, right?
For sure.
So speaking of that, trust the process. I know this is Habibi's mantra. If he could, he would have this tattooed over his arm. So what are we referring to here?
Just Isan across the board. They're right now, they still haven't been able to use their number one weapon yet. Their number one, or their first pick, Zaki, is still missing. But they did really work hard last week to get a win. So as much as people thought that they may be struggling or they might have some woes starting the season, having Kawaja back in net, and Mikhail Zaidi was just running circles around that team, around Isan. He was just pestering them, and he was rewarded with the final goal to put it up 3-2. So as much as Habibi, I would love to hear another shout out just to trust the process. There you go. Thank you. It really is that Daoud knows who he has drafted. He has that faith in him. We had him last week that he was able to give that insight into what he's drafted into his team. And it's just hard work is going to pay off. That's not the pick we're looking for, but we're going to get to it.
Yeah. No, I'm just some clips playing in the background here. So.
Okay.
Yeah. It's Daoud knows the guys who he drafts, and he's really good at doing that and putting a team together. And I think this is maybe his fourth season in a row where I think we're being a little bit quick to judge this season, but they're off to a decent start this season, even without their first round pick playing. But he's had some very successful teams with a very similar core for the most part. So there's a reason why he stays around and watches all the games every week. He's probably the only GM who does that. Probably one of the only players who does that on a regular basis. And kudos to him. He loves the game. He knows the guys. Yep. He knows how to draft, and he knows how to put guys in situations that they'll be successful. And he's a great GM. He's a great leader on the team. Very supportive. Gives everyone opportunities to try things. I can't say enough good things about him.
And he has great insight on the game itself. He, like, a lot of times I'm hanging out with him after the games, and he'll make like subtle comments about stuff, and you're like, that's really good observation, right? It would be great if he was on the podcast more often with a proper mic, but that's a different story.
I mean, one I don't want to we don't have the capacity to call everybody on that team, but I would definitely say that if it wasn't for Ali Khawaja, he's a rock back there, and like he was shelled for a bit in that game too against Ikhlas, and he stood tall and he made the saves that he needed to make, and it gave him the opportunity to win. And his son Rehan, very, very difficult person to play against, right? He, in the most respectful way, he is a pest, right? And it's such a he's relentless, when he wants the ball. I definitely saw some frustration on the part of the Ikhlas defenseman, right? When he would chase them around and he would, jab at the ball, and so he does a great job in that regard. So kudos to Rehan. The younger guys, also Saif, right? Saif, Ali's other son, he's playing defense, right? And I saw him at before the game started. He was practicing with his brother. His brother was trying to get the ball by him, and he was trying to stop him. And so he definitely understands, I think, the the importance of his role because he's kind of up there in the depth chart when it comes to the defensemen on that team. So, if they keep playing like this, it's just a very hardworking team. We might have to rename it to the Ehsan Hustle or something, or Ehsan Intensity. I don't know. We're gonna have to come up with an alliteration for these guys.
But speaking of these young guys, youth struggles. So we've touched upon it a little bit, where we have these young kids. I call them kids, but call me uncle. But we have these mashallah young brothers who are really, really good, and they're only going to get better. But they're kind of struggling. Why is that?
It's part of it, man. You got to learn the game. Just like, if you remember when we were kids, right? And Zaid and I were playing in IBHA, or wherever we transitioned to from there. I mean, we ended up being put on teams with older guys, right? Who would pull us aside. For me, it was I don't want to age anyone, right? But like RF, really mentored me when I was playing, right? Moose really Moose was my defense partner. I was forward my whole life until I played with Moose, and he was one who taught me a lot of what I know about defensive positioning and sort of being patient with the ball and stuff like that. So, I think the young guys, they will learn as long as they're receptive to learning. And you have to be like a sponge, especially when you play with these elite high level players. Is you just got to learn from them, and if you can take what they have to teach you and you can implement it in your own game, it only makes you better.
Yeah, for sure. Like humility goes a long way, right? And you have to be
An
willing
attitude.
to listen.
An attitude, right? So like, especially when you're opposing an older person, right? Or someone that might be more experienced than you, right? It's just, playing with respect, right? And making sure that you're playing in a manner that you understand, I'm playing against somebody with experience, and, maybe the extra words or, the stick work is not really necessary. So, obviously I think that goes a long way too, in making sure that people want to mentor you. Is if they think that, you're a punk, they're not gonna, they'll just treat you as such, right? But if you can play the game in a respectful manner on the floor, it goes a long way.
I didn't mean to bring up Adam's pick. Sorry, 1 second. I didn't mean to bring up Adam's picture as you were talking about punks. It's not at all the intention. In fact, it's the other way around. I think Adam is one of those guys who's young. He loves the game. His brother is an elite player, but he's improved a lot because he is receptive to listening and observing how the veterans play. Sorry,
He's
Ahmad,
also the nicest guy ever, right? Like he's just such a nice, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter if you're playing against him, or if you're on his team, like he is just really a pleasant person to play with and to be around. And so,
100%.
he was my GM last season, and I had a great time playing with him.
Go ahead, Ahmad.
From an emotional perspective, I think it's also getting a good handle on those as well as you play the game. And I'm not saying that having emotions when playing sports or being competitive is a bad thing. I think it's critical, but just harnessing it and using it in a positive way to be able to drive performance and really support and motivate your team. There was a lot of frustration I saw last week on the team, between players and stuff like that. And, we're all human. We all make mistakes and things like that. But people were not as patient with each other as you normally would be, and you see on other teams that have maybe a mix of, some, I guess, veterans on there to be able to bring the team together. So that's something also I'd like to see, that the team kind of grow and harness over time.
So the youth struggles, I think, was more meant, and rightfully, that you did bring up Iman itself, and we've seen that transition of Adam become from that youth to more of a veteran leadership. He brings a leadership as a GM now, and they have one of the youngest teams out there, right? We do have humility even with some of the younger guys, with the Mohideen brothers, right? But it's more about that entirety as a team is struggling, just trying to find their rhythm. They have a lot of young guys. They have a few veteran leaderships. They have now Junaid Alvi, who's now considered a leader on that team, Huzaifa Mandra, right? And how can they cohesively work together and foster that the youth to get that direction, like you were saying, Arif? It's speed without direction is means nothing. And can they turn it around within those 12? Within the remaining 10 games.
Also, speaking of Iman, when will this person show up to on the score sheet? And is he considered a veteran or is he considered a rookie? I'm not sure.
Who is that?
That's Salman Azmat.
He's certainly
I
got a
mean, I
swagger
think
there
that,
to him.
yeah, I mean, it's a great picture. I think that when Salman talks less than he plays, I think he'll probably get some.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I
they
mean,
at
one of
least
the
have a
things
really
with
good goalie
Oman
too. Yeah, go ahead.
is they really need to figure out how to close out games because they've shown everybody they can score. Right? They're great. They can put the ball in the net. Right? That's not a problem. I think that what they really need to do is figure out, okay, well, you know what, we're in the lead, and this is a youth problem as well because you score one
Yeah.
goal and then everyone wants to score. Nobody wants to play
Yeah.
defense, right? And so I think what they need to do is they need to say, you know what, guys, if you have the opportunity, you see the path, go for it. But otherwise, I think we need to, really, play our positions, play our men, so that we can close
Yeah.
the game out, right? I mean, the Maple Leafs were criticized about this, when Matthews and Nylander were young guys, and to some extent, the Habs as well with all the young players, right? So it's not like local to Islam.
No.
It's just one of those things where one guy scores, and then like, oh, I want to score too, and then I want to score, and then I want to score, and then really,
It's
then
actually
all of a sudden nobody's playing defense, and then you lose the game.
Yeah. It's actually in every profession, not just hockey, right? Even think about whatever line of work that you're in. There's always, the freshers, the new guys who show up. They have all the skill and ambition, but they still have to learn the ropes. They still have to go through some level of apprenticeship. And I think it's no different when we're talking about recreational ball hockey, right? So, speaking of mentoring and apprenticeship, you receive such apprenticeship from veterans. So, what's with the veteran success, Manju?
Well, I made fun of you guys in the draft. I called out Subber every single time, but Subber leadership, Subber veterans are pulling that team along, and even missing your the first game you guys missed 2 GMs and your first round pick. And last game you missed 1 GM and still missing Adil Chauhan, your first round pick. And thankfully Maz came back. But regardless of that, you guys are still finding ways to piece momentum success together and getting the goals. And I will call out Baksh on this, that Baksh, great player. He did slide. I will call him out on the slide, but but that slide last week was he blocked a big time shot from one of the other teams, so one of the other players. So Bakshi, I'm gonna give you that shout out because that slide, it came in handy.
I got so many pictures of Baksh. I love Baksh. He's my boy.
And Casentini was the one who scored the game-winning goal. And I'd like to say veteran leadership kind of came through again, where Imad blocked the dump out, passed it over to Kagzi to Casentini right through the 5-hole. So it again, just that last minute dump out, that I think it was 2:30 to go in the game, and the veterans stepped up and made that possession count.
Yeah, for sure. And this is my first time playing with Mohamed Casentini, and he's as advertised. He's a wonderful player on the floor, but outside it's even more friendly. He really livens up the room, right? And is very patient with everyone too. So yeah, you're right. Like we've missed our top players, but our mindset has been, doesn't matter who shows up, everybody plays hard, and we just got to get the W. And I'm really looking forward to this week because I think, fingers crossed, we'll have most of our players this week, inshallah. So we'll see how that goes.
The thing that can happen with veterans is you can have a lot of guys who come in, they know their role, they accept it, and they go forward and they play their game, and the team usually ends up with some success. The other thing that can happen is you have guys who have had past success, they know what they're capable of, and you get egos coming in and clashing, and then teams not having that chemistry that you really want it to be, and then they don't end up being successful. So far, Subber's really been the former, where guys know their role, they come in, they do what they can to support the team, and that's the result. And mind you, that's only only one of the 2 games, but
yeah.
I think that's how it comes together. So it's a good group of guys, and they all understand what they're doing. And hopefully that can continue, especially with the addition of the new guys. And I don't anticipate that'll change, but all a good
Yeah, inshallah.
bunch of guys.
Now, all of us being mid 30s plus, unless Asawi, you're younger, I don't exactly know, but
30s
um,
plus 30. Give me a break.
hey, I
That
said
was a
mid 30s
lifetime
plus.
ago for me.
I'm in net, so I don't have to deal with a lot of the egos and whatnot. So how do you guys, as a team, as players and you guys are veteran players, you guys have been around the block playing and played with great teams and not so great teams. So how do you deal with those players who come with egos and deal with just getting them to change their mindset and say, no, let's put the team first, not your own career stats first?
Me personally, I find that if the player that you're speaking to respects your ability, they will listen to you, typically, right?
Mhm.
Now this is, I would say, most of the time. You're never going to make everyone happy, especially when it comes to playing time and guys maybe wanting the power play time or stuff like that. So I think that a friendly conversation, but also, I mean, look, I think everybody should I get the opportunity as well. Like, I mean, I don't think there should be anybody who's like, asking for maybe some power play time and doesn't get it. But that being said, like, look, we have even on our team, right? Like, so let's look at myself, right? Um, uh, the last game we played, one of the people there, I was on the bench to close the game out, and it was a 1-goal game. And somebody outside the arena was like, "Why are you on the bench in a 1-goal game?" And I said, "Because Amar Khwaja is a better defenseman than I am. Right? He's a better defensive defenseman than I am, and I believe that he is probably top 2 or 3 defensive defensemen in the league." And I said, "Look,
Yeah.
you want to try to score or generate offense, you put me on, right? But you want to close out a game, I will happily sit and watch Amar Khwaja play." So it's also about like knowing your own talents, right? Knowing your limitations, right? And just understanding. Look, a mature person, not just hockey player, will understand that you're not good at everything, and there are people that are maybe better than you. And I think if that comes from someone that this person respects, then they'll probably internalize it a little bit better rather than somebody coming in saying, you're old, that's why you shouldn't play.
And also another point I'll make on that is as a I guess a leader, you also want to give people chance to play. For example, last week it was a 1-goal game and 2 minutes left. We had Omar Sadat and Omar Baksh on for that for the closing 2 minutes, right? They played about a minute or so. Of course, it's like, okay, well, you would want the likes of Casantini and Maz and these guys on. Sure, we did. But if you don't give people a chance, and they deserved it because they got the first goal of the game. So you reward them by putting them on into those situations. And if you don't put them in those situations, they don't grow. So as veterans, you also have to trust not just the process, but trust your players as well.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I mean, how is anybody going to learn? Like RF said, like if you're not put into the situation, how are you going to know what to do? Right? You'll never know. Like nobody will. You don't learn to kill penalties by watching other people kill penalties. You got to get on there.
Yeah, for sure.
So, Ahmad, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. We just want to recognize our sponsors again, Stone Valley Countertops. So it's Stone Valley Countertops. They specialize in various types of custom stonework, so you can always reach out to them for any stonework that you want to do. And they are our Player of the Week sponsors this season, and our Player of the Week this season, this week for week 2 was Hamza Joget with 2 goals and an assist. So very strong player, and we will get those posts online to recognize these guys, but they will be getting their awards. So Hamoudi got his last week, and then Hamza will get his this week.
1 sec.
Yeah, one thing, guys, is I know people definitely appreciate the graphics that we do. So we're trying something new this season where we're trying to get action shots of all the players instead of the headshots for the graphics. We're trying something a little bit different. So myself and hopefully RF and hopefully Mobeen will be there on tomorrow, especially during warm up and stuff, trying to get shots of you guys. So make sure you're there, make sure you're on time. Otherwise, we may not be bringing our cameras back.
And cooperate with us too, right? Like if we're asking you for a picture, it's not because we necessarily want your autograph. It's just it's for the league and it's also for you, right? So cooperate with us and then play along. It helps everyone. So here's a shot of Hamoudi getting his prize for the previous week, and for this week, I believe it's Hamza Jogiat who gets the next one. So you see, we talk about a person and we can put their picture up, we can put their video up, but it's not just a media thing. Everyone has phones and cameras and stuff. So send us your pictures and video clips, and we'll try our best to have them posted up and give you due credit for it.
Yeah, just drop it on our Instagram or message one of us. You're probably going to have at least one of our numbers, so just let us know.
Sounds good. All right, boys, if there's nothing else, why don't we wrap up? I know it's actually been a pretty long podcast today, 51 minutes thus far. Time flies when you're having fun.
Time flies when you're having fun.
It's always good to have the whole bench back. Maju is I could say he's officially he used to be just a guest, but I consider him officially part of the crew. I haven't kicked you out of the WhatsApp group, and I don't think I will.
I appreciate that.
I might throw Hanan out just because he doesn't come on anymore. He's the most fun guy here.
Maju takes notes, guys. Like he's there making notes on his phone and he's writing things down. And us bums, we just show up and we just we try to recall whatever we can from our very decayed memory due to old age, and we do our best. But I think that kudos to Maju. He's taking this very, very seriously, and we respect that. And I think everybody respects your takes. And so, great job, Maju, great job, Imad, great job, Arif, as usual. Somebody's asking for predictions on tomorrow's games. I don't know if you guys want to quickly take one each. If we don't
really have time for that, but I will say that someone's going to win, someone's going to lose, and teams might tie. So that's my prediction.
I like that.
All right, boys. With that, inshallah, hopefully. With that, inshallah, we'll see you guys at the ring.
Iman.
Hey, there you go.
All right, that's it. You know what? I've only every single season I have only managed to score on Zaid Maju. So tomorrow will be the test.
Yeah.
Tomorrow will be the test.
You're my kryptonite, man. You're my kryptonite.
They're coming from everywhere tomorrow.
Listen, you can score on this goalie right here because look how far he is out of net.
There you go. I don't know what save he's trying to make over there.
It's called the old man stretching save. That's what I'm trying to do. Just get loose.
It's I'm stuck and I can't get up save. All right, boys. Let's tie it up. Inshallah, we'll see you guys on Friday. And till then,
tomorrow.
Inshallah.
Yes.
Okay. Bye.